Okay, on to week 2 of Volumen Legum, the codex of Justinian law. Basically, that's what this book is. So, last week we sort of reattached some loose pages. We reinforced the spine. We've got these really nice raised bands now for this enormous volume. And in the meantime, this leather arrived. Very, very beautiful sort of saddle coloured leather, which is going to make for, I think, a nicer, a nice alternative to some of the very dark sort of restoration that I've done recently on some of the other books. So that's going to come a little later. We're now in a position to think about the boards. Probably worth just talking about this rope here. So what was quite interesting was while this rope makes for a really nice thick raised band there, it actually unravels into three separate cords, and then these cords themselves will actually unravel very easily into something that lies absolutely flat, which basically means we're going to be able to I think thread these into the boards and then have them lie flat in such a way that they barely show, which is going to be really quite cool. So we'll have to sort of drill a series of holes into these sort of boards here. As I mentioned before, I'm going to be using 2 of these canvas boards together to make the thickness that I want. And the sort of surface here is this lovely sort of textured surface. It's going to take the glue very well and make for both ease of attaching the leather and also the paste down paper. So first thing we need to do is to measure the dimensions, because we're going to have to cut these boards to size. They're too big at this point. And I want these boards to have a good distance sort of above and below the text block. Not too big though. So I'm reading this as being 17 inches. If I allow for a generous 1/4 inch, a little bit more than a 1/4 inch, top and tail. So I'm thinking 17 inches this way. And the other thing is I want the boards to, one thing that's pretty critical with this is you want the boards to always sit in front of the spine, not parallel to it, in front of it. So they'll sort of press up here against the sort of ridge that's made by the last few pages that were glued there and the fabric being sort of folded over. Excuse me. So that'll give us the dimension forward that we want. So I'm just going to pull down here just for ease of measuring. So I'm nestling the end of the tape literally where the board would be. What do you reckon? Do you think 11 inches enough? Maybe. I'm tempted to go slightly more, but I think that's probably, I think 11 inches is going to be fine. The camera's having difficulty focusing because the background is so uniform and white. So I think we're looking at 17 by 11. So I've got 4 of these things to cut in. So I'll adjourn to the man cave and do the required sewing. And then what I'm also going to do is drill. What I'm going to do is drill a whole bunch of holes actually, but basically each of these will need, each sort of bundle here will need 6 holes, goes in, goes out. So patterned like a die basically, so the 6 on the surface of a dice. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, so 6, 12, 18, 24. So 48 holes here. 48 holes on the backboard. So almost 100 holes I need to drill. So so we'll take this to the man cave and then return with these boards ready for use. Okay, so these are now cut to size. I've actually just got all 4 bundled together here. See, covered in dust and everything else. I've got the, obviously the rough edges are those that, you know, I want to sort of keep on the less important edges in the book. So these will be the inside edge, because they'll be covered by sort of carbon leather anyway, and the bottom edge here. So I'm leaving the sort of finished edges of the boards, making the top and the top and the right there. Okay, so now we're in a position to measure this for drilling the holes. One thing I've learned is make life easy on yourself. Don't make the holes so small that it just becomes a real pain to thread, because there aren't really needles big enough for a cord this big. There probably are somewhere, but I don't have them. So, you know, we're going to have to fashion a simple needle out of some tape or something to wrap around the edge to thread through the holes. And you don't want to be doing sort of struggling with that because you made the holes too small. It's all going to be covered anyway. So I'm just sort of selecting a drill bit here. So I'm going to use one that's reasonably chunky. I mean, these, if I twist this, imagine this with a sort of fashion into a needle by having a bit of tape wrapped around the end here. You know, you're looking at something that's about that diameter. I want to go a little bit bigger than that, just to make life easy. You know, this is about the thickness of a chopstick, roughly. So I think this will be the bit. So what I'm going to do is basically, for each, I'm going to sort of mark first off where the each of the sort of raised bands is, and then I'm going to do my sort of 6 holes. So it's basically going to be one here, one here, one here, and then over here, one here, one here, one here. Do that all the way along, and then drill these holes out. There's no need for this to be super accurate, but go all the way through. I mean, I had thought about maybe just drilling the holes in one board and kind of burying the thread for the second row of holes. This is sort of between the boards, but frankly it's not worth it. It's going to lie flat anyway. So we'll drill these holes, and then basically we're going to thread through here, over, back through, flatten it out, glue it, cut it, and that's basically how we're going to do it. So I've got the boards all bundled together here, all 4 of them. And I should just emphasize, I say I've got them bundled, but they're arranged in such a way that the sort of inner finish is, I don't want to undo it, but basically you've got the canvas side out, 2 canvas sides facing the middle here, and this canvas side out. So I've done it in such a way that I don't end up with the holes in the wrong place. Okay, so next job, those get drilled. So I moved the book itself out of the way off this board because we're starting to get a bit dusty here now. So I thought things were going well. I sort of drilled the holes here. I don't have a proper sort of workbench with a vise or anything like that, unfortunately. And I kind of paid the price for it a little bit, which is, although these holes went through okay, there was delamination, which happened on the other side where the drill bit was emerging. It sort of pushed the layer of canvas away. So what I'm going to have to do is basically sort of complete the job of drilling, and I'm just going to do that by sort of using a screwdriver just to widen out each of the holes a little bit more, like this. Use a chopstick, or I guess I could use the original drill bit, then just to complete the job, like so. It also helps just to flatten down where things have sort of ridged up a little bit, where the drill bit emerged. At the end of the day, this is artist canvas. It's not designed to be drilled. It wasn't made for that. And then what I'm going to do is just put a bit of glue where the delaminations happen, so in there, and just sort of put some bulldog clips on just to clamp it while it sort of glues and sticks down, and then I think we'll be in good shape. This isn't a major setback by any stretch here. So that's what I'm going to do for the rest of these, and then we'll be in a position to think about actually threading the boards, and I guess actually gluing them together as well. We can now convert 4 canvases basically into 2 book boards, and then we'll really start to feel that this book is well on the way to restoration here, which will be pretty awesome. Okay, so what I've done is I've taken each pair of boards, I've just numbered them, so 1 and 2 here, going to be the front 2. That only tells me which boards go on the front versus the back, but also which way up the boards need to be critically. I don't want to try and thread them this way, that would not be good. So first a question sort of presents itself, which is, do we glue these 2 boards together first and then thread them, or do we thread them first? And I think the answer is I'm going to thread them, because what I want to be able to do, once they're threaded, there's going to be give. Basically the boards will still be mobile against each other a little bit. And so what I'll be able to do is glue here and then just move the boards very gently. There'll be enough give where the thread is, such that this edge just becomes perfectly aligned. Same with the top edge. So I think that's going to be the approach here. And then the question is, well, okay, how are we going to thread this? Because this is, this could get very, very sort of frustrating trying to push this through there. There are sort of, various tools that potentially could be used, like really massive needles. I don't have them. What I'm probably going to do, this is very amateurish, but it'll probably be effective, is just twist it into a point like this and fashion, just by rolling a bit of tape into a needle. And then what I'm going to do is the needle itself goes through the underside. I'll just do this as a simple demonstration of one here, like so, and then down through the top. This is where making sure that you have enough length in the, this is why I didn't actually trim this rope yet, so it just makes it easier to allow for the fact that the needle has a certain length. So the idea is, and look at that. Rookie mistakes. Okay, all right, so let's just try that again. That's kind of funny, isn't it? someone was probably shouting, "You're doing the wrong holes." Of course I was. There we go. Let's move down here. So it's just a relatively easy way to do it. The idea being that once you do that, if you're careful, you can actually reuse, no, just pull it off. If you're really careful, you can probably reuse that sort of tape here or just make another one. It's pretty quick. That's probably the easiest way to do it. You could also get a little bit of wire and just wrap it around each time and sort of fashion a needle that way. That's another kind of method. Nothing particularly sophisticated about it. So that's going to be the process. So we're going to just thread all of this. It's going to take quite a while today until we get to a situation where the boards are attached, and then we'll be in a position to at least glue each of the canvases to each other, so that we end up with two nice book boards, and then we'll have starting to look like a proper book again. So as I've done a few of these, I've come to realise that, at least for me, the most efficient way of doing it is actually just to, I'll demonstrate here. I use duct tape, like this. I cut a strip about 1 inch across, maybe slightly more. Then I cut it again. These are very blunt scissors. And again into triangles with my hypotenuse, like the diagonal edge being about 1 inch long, roughly. Like this. They don't really need to be precise. And then what I'm finding is the easiest way to thread them is just flatten it out, put it directly across like this, fold it over, sort of turn it this way, fold it like that, and again. The result's just a point. And then it becomes really easy to actually feed, he said, I don't know. There we go. Feed the point through the hole. And around. And down. So that we just end up with a whole collection of them here. And then just leave the tape on. It just helps avoid the situation where you accidentally pull the damn things back through if you move the book unexpectedly. So that's kind of how I'm doing it. Okay, so give these a nice little tug. Just use a little stick. Use these scissors as long as I'm careful. I don't want to cut anything. There we go. Just really take up the slack here. Okay. Tightening those gently, but that's basically the idea. And I can actually tighten and loosen these a little bit just to get the board to really just sit exactly where I want it to. And then what I'm going to be able to do is to glue outer and inner board. So it just becomes one unit. And then in the future, if I ever want to add clasps or any kind of hardware, all I need to do is put a little slit in here and just sort of crack it open slightly. And I'll be able to do that as well. So that's giving me some good optionality. But there we go. I think this is going to turn out well. This book will soon have covers. Okay, so I've temporarily just tightened these boards on both sides, just to really get the measure a little bit. You know, you don't want these too tight just yet. Clearly you want to avoid sort of that sort of bundling going on there on the surface, but we want just enough play in here that the board sort of sits just, as I said, in front of this sort of edge and not sort of on it, because that's A, that's how it was measured, and B, it just won't work that way. So I think we're actually kind of looking pretty good at this point. We've got sort of looking here, got some nice symmetry. Oops. The boards are towards the big end of what's needed. As I went for a full 17-inch, so that does give us the opportunity, should I want to, which I probably won't, but should I want to, I can actually just trim a little bit off this bottom edge. Jury's out on whether it's really worth doing that, but as you can see, the actual reciprocating saw that I used, the blade sort of wobbled around a bit, so I might just want to sort of try and sand that down just to straighten a little bit, but obviously I'll lose a little bit of thickness when I do that. Anyway, we're looking, overall this is in good shape now. So I think next step is to actually glue the boards together, which I'll do momentarily, and then we start to continue the journey with gluing the fabric down here, trimming this obviously, gluing that flat, gluing the fabric back, and then we'll be in a position to do our usual sort of adding some card here. And I can actually put the card in between the, if I think about that, I can actually put the card in between the boards. Maybe I should do that just before I glue them. So maybe card is the next thing to do. Just go in there. And then, or maybe not, I don't know. The card I think could just as easily sit here. And then we'll be in a position to think about adding leather.